Hi guys, I'm Salvation again, and in this video I want to show you all the glove enchantments from the labyrinth. Some of the enchantments are spells and others are attacks, so I will use a character that is geared for spell damage and another character that is geared for attack damage to show them. They come in 4 tiers, from the normal labyrinth, the cruel, merciless and uber labyrinth. They do exactly the same, they just deal more damage. It's like leveling up your spells. They will also scale exactly like attacks or spells. They have specific things that increases their damage, and if you have an enchantment that fits your build, like get scaled by the things you have for your normal skills, it will be much stronger. The first thing here is the commandment of blades, which is basically a chaining ethereal knives. Gets scaled by spell damage, physical damage and projectile damage, so it does pretty good damage with this build. Next one is a word of Inferno that is cast on kill. So the first one was cast on hit, this one is cast on kill. And it's fire damage and area damage and of course spell damage. Edict of Tempest looks a lot like Static Strike, but this one is a spell, not an attack, so it will scale with spell damage, lightning damage, area damage, and it should deal good damage if you are playing a lightning build or a build that scales general spell damage. As you can see, I don't have the highest tier for all of them, so this video is not really to show off the damage, but more to show the mechanics of the enchantments. And honestly, that's what really matters, because with the right skill tree, if the enchantment fits your skill tree, they will all do good damage if they are from the overlap, and the mechanics are the same between all the tiers. Decree of the Grave is the one for summoners. It also triggers when you kill or your summons kill something, and it then summons some icy SRS that will also explode on death. With a high level enchantment, these deal pretty good damage, even for non-summoner builds. For summoner builds they should be really good. The Of Winter enchantment is one of my favorites, and it seems to scale really well with crit. So you will see that if it crits, it freezes really good, and also deals a good amount of damage, even if this one is a low level one. So I guess for a cold caster or a crit caster in general, this one is a pretty good enchantment. It is triggered when you are hit, so it's more of a defensive enchantment than an offensive one. Word of Reflection is also a very defensive enchantment. It creates a clone of yourself when you are hit. The clone will also attack, but it's mostly a distraction for the enemies, like a decoy totem or something like that. It can be pretty useful for characters that don't want to get hit and don't need any damage enhancement from the enchantment on the glove. The Of Frost enchantment is a more offensive version of the Of Winter enchantment. It is triggered on kill and fires a nova of icy projectiles all around you. It also deals pretty good damage and is certainly better for your clear speed, and it gets triggered on kill and can pick off stragglers and stuff like that. Overall, I feel like the Of Winter enchantment does freeze better than this one, and also seems to scale better with crit. When it crits, it does a lot more damage. This one is pretty normal in that regard. The Of Thunder enchantment is cast on kill, and yeah, it's like the Tempest enchantment, but a bit more direct, with no delay for the damage, but I feel it's pretty underwhelming. It's often even hard to see it going off. I don't know, I'm really not impressed about this enchantment, I got to say. That was all the spell enchantments. I will now switch my character to Archer to show off the attack enchantments. They scale with your weapon damage, so it's better if I use a character that has a weapon that does damage. The Off-Spite enchantment is pretty well known. It triggers when you are hit, and it fires off a nova of icy projectiles that also leave chilled ground. It's a pretty good defensive enchantment and also deals good damage if you are wielding a weapon with good base damage. The Off-Force enchantment is an odd one, I got to say. I will try to show it here, but you will see that it's really hard to see, because it has almost like no visual effect. You see this little swirl that sometimes shows up right in front of my character, and it scales off physical damage and deals pure physical damage, but it's really underwhelming because of the area of effect. The next one has quite the opposite problem. The Off-Ire enchantment leaves a projectile on the ground or your weapon on the ground and spins with lightning damage. The damage isn't bad, but it's really distracting in my opinion, and distracts from things like bureaus and stuff like that. The Word of War is one of my favorites. It summons copies of your weapon, basically animated weapons, on kill, and they will inherit all the things that your character does. So as you see, they fire more projectiles with my character, the projectiles pierce and the projectiles will return. So they are pretty good. If you have a good weapon, they do pretty good damage, and they can also distract enemies. The Fury enchantment is a really strong one. It is triggered on hit and it fires out a nova of fire projectiles, or it's based on your physical damage, but it's converted to 50% fire. This one is strong on many characters and gives a lot of AoE and clear speed. The Off-Light enchantment is pretty hard to trigger on an evasion character because you need to get crit to trigger it. And if you get crit, it is really underwhelming. It deals nearly no damage, has a really small AoE, and creates consecrated ground that you can also create with a flask if you really want it. I hope you enjoyed this video and it was useful for you. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe.